class today. I'm going to share with you one of the questions that was addressed to us. How should you discipline children? How should you handle discipline in a blended family? And this is an area that in my heart I've been praying about maybe having a series just for blended families, just for second, third, fourth marriages. I think it's needed, and I think it would be a great class. I just do. If you're interested, share with me that you are. Pass the word around. I just need to know that it would be something that would be attended and it would be worthwhile. No need to address something that is not worthwhile. But I feel like blended families really need to know that the church is supporting them. I'm a product of a blended family and grew up in a blended family. Understand well because that was my life. The challenges that a blended family faces, especially with children in the home, very, very challenging. So I'm going to address this question, and if it's not you, don't, just hang out. Don't worry about it. Share whatever you have to share. But blended families are literally live in a crock pot, is the way I like to put it. Blended families live in a crock pot. Tell me some things that, how is food prepared in a crock pot? Huh? Thrown in there, crock pot. And it's cooked slowly. If you ate it within an hour, what would it be like? Yeah. It would be a mess, wouldn't it? Yeah. It's cooked slowly. Anything else you want to share about crock pot cooking?
All kinds of ingredients.
All sorts of ingredients. Anything else?
It's an easy dinner.
It is an easy dinner. You're right. It is. It is an easy dinner.
It makes the flavors make the other things and it tastes better. So it actually increases the flavor.
So you said the flavors complement one another in time. If you have a good mixture, they do. If you don't, they don't. Okay? I've cooked a few things that even the dog wouldn't eat. I'll be honest with you. That's what blended marriages are like. When you take the mixture of children from one family and you pour them into a new mother or a new father, and you take the mixture of a new house or new environment for some of the children and not for others, but for the children that is their home, but now they have to share that environment. And then you have a different set of parents, and perhaps the children had very little say-so, or they were unaware of what was going to take place. You have a mess, and it takes time to build it. So I'm just going to give you a few pointers about a blended family. How many of you have ever worked in a job where an acquisition or a takeover happened in your job? What was it like?
Chaos. Not good.
Yeah. Did they ask your opinion? No, they didn't ask. They did ask yours?
Yes.
Did they follow your opinion? No. So they were gracious, but they did what they planned to do. Anybody else want to share about an acquisition or a takeover, what it's like?
You worry you're going to have a job.
Exactly.
Downside,
You have resentment for the company that took you over.
You really do.
You really do.
Do you feel helpless?
Completely.
A sense of learned helplessness. You just feel like, are you overwhelmed?
In military, we do this every 3 years because you got someone new, and you have to be prepared for change.
How did you prepare for it?
Well, I mean, you just have to keep an open mind and be flexible about it because every time someone takes over, they're going to have their own way of doing things.
Was there hope that this only lasts for 3 years when it was a bad situation?
Sometimes, yes.
Did you ever count the months?
Yes, ma'am. All the time.
Even the minutes?
Absolutely.
For children, blended marriage is like an acquisition oftentimes. They have no say-so on what's going to take place. They really don't. I mean, you may share with them, hey, mama's getting a new husband, or mommy loves so-and-so, or daddy loves so-and-so, but they really, and they can say, hey, I don't like this. I don't want this to happen. And you're pretty much going to do what you want to. Because when you love somebody, or when you're lonely, lonely is a strange bedfellow, loneliness is. And sometimes you can become so lonely that you really make stupid choices. And then sometimes you make really good choices. But I'm just saying. So, remarriage or blended families for children is a lot like an acquisition, a takeover. They feel helpless. They often wonder, what could I have done to make it different? They have hope that it'll go back another way. And if it's multiple times, they just learn to cope. And I just wanted to share that with you. I want you to just massage that in your body and in your heart. So what can you do? Regardless, I would say 65% of families in America have some sort of blending taking place, or have. Whether it's been through death, you've had a death of a spouse, and you've remarried, or one of you's had a death and the other one was just a divorce, whatever it was. I want to just share some things you can do. And I gave you some paper there. If you want to turn it over, there's some paper that the front says making time for the important. But if you want to turn it over in the back and just make a few notes, you can, if you want to. Number one, I want you to remember, don't stop having fun together. When people who have been married before begin to date, they have to get their children in places if their children are young in order to make a date. And those times are so, they just had to do a lot to get together. And so they make the most of it, and they really, they just make the most of it. They pour everything into it. After you get married in a second marriage, you don't forget to keep making time to have fun together. Once you get married and the children are there and everything's just going crazy and you got a mess in that crock pot, sometimes you just forget to take time for each other. Take time to have fun together. Number two, the most valuable thing you can give your stepchildren is to love their mother or their father openly. It's the most valuable thing you can do. If they can observe that you love their mother, or they can observe you love their father, it will help them to understand, perhaps they will love me too. Perhaps. That's the number one gift you can give them. Number two, give them time. Do not demand, all right, you're going to call me Dad, or you're going to call me John, or you're going to call me this or that. Do not demand. Just give a child time. Each child processes acquisition differently. They just do. Some of them stay mad for 5 years. They just do. So give them time and space. And just let it take its course as far as demanding that they see that this looks like a family. That doesn't mean let them destroy the house, let them blow up the car, I don't know. I can remember a third time I went through acquisition in my own personal life as a child. I went from a straight A student to I almost failed that grade. Never failed anything. Never failed. I was always a straight A student. Was no longer in the gifted program. Went to but I was mad. I was very angry. And that was my way to say, I don't like this acquisition. It just was. It was my way. So give them time. The other thing you can do, number 4. Is that number 4 or number 3? Well, one of those, if it's 3 or 4. Anyway, the next thing you should do, if at all possible, have some sort of civil relationship with the former spouse. If at all possible. Have some sort of civil relationship with them. Something. So that the child has as much continuity as possible if they travel back and forth. Some children don't travel back and forth. And some spouses are from Hades, and you are not going to have any, some spouses in the past, or they're And there's nothing you can do. And I understand that. But if you can, if they are an involved spouse from a former marriage, then you will do yourself a great favor to create some sort of civil relationship. Some sort. Because just as you can look back and think, I had a mother and a father, whether you like it or not, that person is going to be part of your marriage in an extended way for a long time, according to how old the children are. Okay? If you cannot create a civil relationship with that former spouse, it's just impossible. Do not ever speak hard or ugly or judgmental of that person. Do not. Those children, do not do that. You will create heartache. You will create discord. You will create, it will be difficult to mix the ingredients. It's like pulling out something that's in there because, believe it or not, former spouses are in that pot. It's like pulling it out saying, I hate this ingredient. Why did you put it in there? This is the nastiest tasting, blah, blah, blah. And those who love it, which are children, and perhaps a companion prior, long ago, you just build contention for yourself. Does that make sense? I won't say it's easy. I won't say you don't need to go out in the yard, dig a hole, and say everything you want inside that hole and cover it up. Or when you get in the bedroom with your companion and the children are nowhere around, that you don't say, that is the sorriest. I tell you, I don't know where you found them, but I'm going to tell you something. I mean, I don't know. Because when you have fights over child support, and you have arguments over weekend visits, and you have arguments over holidays, whew, it's just a crock pot, and it cooks slow. It just takes time. All right? Number 4, or number 5, whichever it is. Thank you very much. And what is your name? Go ahead. Beverly?
Will Hyde.
Oh, so
Will
good.
Hyde.
Hey, welcome. This is your first time to class, isn't it?
Your pastor directed this here.
Well, good. We're so glad to have you. And those of you around them, make sure that you let them have a name, get them a name plate, before it's over, so they can put their names on there so we can get to know you. All right, number 5. Keep all things equal with the children. Did you hear me? Some of you are going to bring your children, his children, and then you're going to create our children. And that's a lot of different children. But children are children. And if you will create all things equal, you will save yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of uncalled for resentment that will build over the years. If you have children coming into a home and you have children there that have a room, a bedroom, and you've got children coming that need a bedroom, you're either going to make it equal for everybody gets a bedroom, or everybody shares a bedroom, but it's all going to be equal. However you discipline one child, when those children are in your home, all children are disciplined that way. Do you understand? Because they're our children. All things are equal. If this child gets 5 gifts for Christmas, this child gets 5 gifts for Christmas. All things are equal. If this child gets a special birthday party, that child gets a special birthday party. All things are equal. This child gets a cell phone at age 12, that child gets a cell phone at age 12. All things are equal. Even if the cell phone has to stay at your house when they go visit the other one, but they get a cell phone as well. If you take and go to open house for this child at school, you go to open house for that child at school. All things are equal. And that way in an acquisition, you are not the left out and hope you still are loved. Because you didn't have to say so in that takeover, really. Does that make sense? You save yourself a lot of heartache if you'll make all things equal. And number 6, when the change takes place in marriage and a blended family, do everything you can to cause as little unrest in the environment. In other words, whatever the environment was prior to marriage, do your best to make the same environment in the home after marriage. Okay? And that's, I'll go back to home. All right. I'll go back to bikes. All right, you're going to get a new sister. You got to share that bike. Wait a minute, that's my bike. I don't even want that new sister. What do you mean I got to share my bike? I don't want that sister. I don't even like that sister. Well, I don't care. You got to share. All right, you got a new sister. You're going to share your room, and they get to choose which boat they want. Share. I don't want her. Send her away. Make the environment as consistent as it was prior to marriage, after marriage, because you're going to have enough culture shock as it is. And then when it comes to discipline, okay, you are there as a support to your companion whose children were from a prior marriage. You're there as a support. Whatever you decide, the two of you, in discipline, you need to decide behind closed doors, and then you need to stick to it. And it's depending upon the age of the children. It also, a lot of variables depend upon how discipline is determined. There's just no set way. Depends upon how involved the prior companion is in their child's life. Depends upon the age of the child. Depends upon how many children you already have in the home from your marriage. Depends on a lot of things. But whatever you decide, it needs to be decided behind closed doors. And when you sit down with children, you say, this is the way it's going to be in this home. This is the way. This is the way we have our rules and so forth. You need to stick to what you say. You do not need to allow your children or the guilt of your past to persuade you to not be loyal to your companion. Does that make sense? It's very easy to allow your past and your guilt to persuade you to do things behind your companion's back. And you are only destroying the relationship between the two of you. You're only breaking it down. Oftentimes, it's best that it just depends upon the age of the children, but it's best to you as the parent who is not the parent of that child, you're the step parent, to be a support to their mother or their father and to back them in what decision they make. And if it's a very strenuous type of thing, it may be best that that parent be the main determination of the punishment, as long as the two of you agree, and that you just support. There may come a time that child does unbelievable things. They can hit adolescence, and you know what? Whether they're stepchildren or not, when kids hit adolescence, they go nuts. Just like you and I did, some of us. They just do. So your job is to support your companion. And love bears all things. Love believes all things. Love endures. Love is patient. Love is kind. It doesn't boast. You know, if you had kids like my kids, we'd just be fine in this marriage. There are going to be times, possibly, that you're just going to have to bear and say to your companion, I'm so sorry you're going through this, but this is always home for whatever you need for your children, just as you made it home for my children. And now they're our children as much as we can be. Anybody have anything they want to share about that? Anything to say? So the main discipline should be the parent, the maternal parent of that child. not the step-parent. Not the step-parent. The other thing I would encourage you to do, and I'm going to talk about this in making time for the important, the other thing I would encourage you to do is to weekly have a family forum. And what I mean by having a family forum, it doesn't have to be this huge, elaborate thing, but a time where you sit down with the children, the spouses, and you say, okay, this is what our week looks like. These are the responsibilities we have in the home. You got to clean your house, you got to clean your room, you got to wash, we've got clothes to wash, we've got food to cook, we've got dishes to clean, we've got a yard to mow, we've got homework to keep, we've got sports activities to go to, and you talk about all those different responsibilities, and you allow the children to hear that. And you say, now how are we going to divide these things up? And let's say you finally determine, okay, on Monday night, you're going to wash the dishes, and on Tuesday night, John's going to wash the dishes, and on Wednesday night, I'm going to wash the dishes, and you put it all out, because if you have two parents working, it's even more so that you've got to break those responsibilities down. But you talk about it, and you let the children say, wait a minute, I don't like that idea. I don't think I should do that. Well, what do you think is fair then? Because you see all the responsibilities we have. And what you're basically doing is the same thing we do in school. You're having them buy into the family, and they feel a part. They don't feel they just come visit. They feel they actually live there. And that their voice counts. And that they are a part, like acquisition. And you may not do it just like they want, but at least you listen. At least it does give you a sense of dignity. It at least allows you to voice your opinion. And then finally, whatever you pan out or flesh out in that weekly forum, this is what we're going to do this week. And you're going to spend, right when you get home from school, you spend 30 minutes on homework, blah, blah, blah. Then you're going to also flesh out the consequences of not keeping the commitment. Okay? For example, Daniel, you're going to mow the yard on Saturday by noon. That's what you're going to do. You're going to mow it by noon. And if you don't, if by some chance you choose not to, you're going to lose your phone privileges for 3 days. Or you're going to lose the car for a day, whatever. And so when that time comes, I'm not going to get out there and say, now, Daniel, how many times? It's 11 o'clock. It's 11:05. You know how long it takes? I'm not going to do that. When it gets noon, and Daniel mows it late that afternoon, and he wants the keys that night, I'll say, remember what we said? By noon. Wasn't done by noon, son. I'm sorry. You don't have the keys for 3 days. He might forget once or twice, but I ain't going to have any problem after that. That takes time on your part to keep your word. We do our children a disservice if we take care of everything for them until they turn 18. We do them a terrible disservice because we don't teach them responsibility. And I promise you, when they get to work, when they get a job, their boss is not going to look at them and say, you were such a wonderful child, I think I'll do this for you. Don't worry if you don't come in on time. That's okay. Besides, I'm going to get you your breakfast. We're sitting right on your desk when you get here. They got a rude awakening. And unless you want to raise them all your life, I'm talking all your life, you need to allow them to understand what real life is like, that it has commitments and obligations, and that obligations and commitments are done first before pleasure is encouraged and involved. Children need to learn how to wash their clothes. They need to learn how to wash dishes and clean up their room and mow yards, and they need to learn how to do those things. And does it take time on your part? Yes, it does. But if you will put out the carrots and the sticks, if that makes sense, you get these carrots if you do this, and if you don't, there's these sticks. And we've all talked about it, and we understand it. And when it happens, if it's a stepchild, and the real parent is so tempted to bend, you are doing your marriage a disservice and you are doing your child a disservice because you just taught them they are more important than your marriage. And if they are more important than your marriage, they will conquer your marriage. So will children in a real maternal parent, mother and father. They will conquer too. It's the same scenario. You've got to stick to it. So make sure whatever the two of you say, you believe it. Okay? Those family forums are a great opportunity for children to understand they're part of it, that their voice counts, and that they have some say-so. And when you say it's just too difficult to keep them, I've had some say to me, it's just so much work to make my child do this. It takes on and on. Well, no, it doesn't if you might change the way that you teach them how to do it. In other words, you show them, and you have the consequences, and then you give them a time slot, and then if they do not meet it within that time frame, then they are allowed to pay the consequences or enjoy the pleasure. It does, believe it or not, it's a lot of old habits for you to break, but eventually, it does wonders. I mean, children are amazing. They can do wonderful things. Something I used to do with my children, I don't say that you should do this, but when my children were young, I always gave a list on Saturday. Broke up from 4 years old all the way up. They always had a list on Saturday. Many people would not spend the night with us on Friday night, because if you spent the night with us, you had a list too on Saturday. You don't eat free at the Baggett. You work on Saturday. And I'm telling you, we did not have many people spend the night on Friday night once they became teenagers. I mean, they would just say, I am not spending the night at your house. Your mom makes a list. And I did not allow somebody to lie on the couch while my kids work. You here on Saturday? Your name's going to be on that list. That was just something I did. I mean, call it what it is. And, but the thing that used to bother me is my kids would come and say, Mama, I'm through, come look at it. And I'd go look and say, no, you didn't do this, and you didn't. And it would drive me nuts. I'm telling you, I'm going to call it an epiphany, call it whatever you want, because I am not that smart. But one night I got this idea that one of the children was going to have less chores than others. However, they were going to be a checker. In other words, they had to check everybody's work. And if the checker signed off on you, and you didn't do it right, the checker had to do it. That changed my life. I remember they would go, no, because she was such a perfectionist. And so they didn't have it perfect. And they would say, no, don't make that as a checker. She drives me nuts. That's right. Man, my house was clean. And I didn't run every. It's great. It was an epiphany. I'm telling you, it worked. And I did that with my children until they left home. I'm telling you, it worked until it was just great. And they all knew how to work for a living. Every one of them. They were pretty good workers. I'm not going to say that that's because I did that. I'm grateful they are. But it did teach them responsibility at a very young age. So, that's how you should discipline children in a blended family. Leave the maternal parent to be the one that makes those hard calls, and you make them behind closed doors, and then you support them and follow through. And in time, that child will leave you. They'll grow up, and they'll all leave. So the most valuable thing you can do for yourself is to keep your relationship with your companion alive and not live out your marriage through your kids. Because when they leave, you won't have any marriage. You'll be married to a stranger. Okay? All right. Any questions? Any comments? Yes?
I became a blended family growing up back in the 70s, and you talk about the forum, and I had 3 stepsisters, and there was my sister and I and my brother. And the joke was, and we were joking about this just the other day, is, they went out to dinner and they never went home, 3 stepsisters, and then they picked us up and all of a sudden we had these 3 stepsisters. I mean, we never even met them. But anyway, we would do the forum, and back in the 70s, doing the forum. And, there was usually some yelling and lots of tears, and it seemed like there was always one person who was kind of getting all the blame for everything. And it always changed each time. By the end, we would be laughing, and we would have, gone over everything, got it all out in the open and everything. And then, like, the work during the week, we had till Saturday to get it done. And we might have been up watching Saturday Night Live doing it, but it had to be done by Saturday night. And but we didn't have a chaperone, we should have had a chaperone.
So were the forums helpful for your family?
They were. Like I said, like I said, it might have been yelling, it might have been tears, there might have been, it might have gotten really ugly within the forum, but by the end, we were laughing and we got over it and got past it, and, just opened everybody up to say what they felt.
True. I can't tell you what a forum looks like. For some of you, your mindset, because we are products of the way we were raised, and we bring with us, when we build our lives together, we bring with us the experiences of our past. And so each of us see life very differently. The way we were raised, the way our parents disciplined us or did not discipline us, all of those things filter into our perception of what raising children should look like. None of us go to school to raise children. None of us. We just have the past experiences and the things we swore we would never do, and the things that we promised ourselves we would always do, and then bingo, we had children and we said, oh my Lord, I had no idea it was like this. So I can't tell you what the forum looks like. It doesn't look like a certain thing. It has to fit what you and your companions see as practical for your lives and your children. See what I'm saying? Perhaps you don't give your children a lot of freedom to say a lot of things, or perhaps you do, or perhaps you give them the opportunity. I don't know. I can't tell you what it looks like. What I am talking to you about is the fact that you made time and you said to your children, by making that time, I care enough about you that I want to hear what you have to say. Very important to children. Very important. Okay? So I won't tell you what it looks like. I'll just tell you it's a good thing that you do it. Now we're going to go to today's lesson. Making time for the important. Okay? I want to ask you to think about something this week. What do you want from marriage? I mean, why did you get married? What are your expectations from getting married? What do you want out of it? No? What'd you say, Peyton?
Still asking that question.
How many years you been married, Peyton?
53.
53 years, and you still asking that question. I just love you. I just do. Yeah. I mean, when we get married for a myriad of reasons. I mean, I got married because I wanted security. I had come from a home where I had 5 transitions. I just wanted somebody to be there every day when I walked in the door. That was more important to me than anything. And then as I got older, that wasn't as important to me. Yeah. But I'm saying where you are now, what are your expectations of marriage? What do you want out of it? I want you to think about that this week. And then I want to say to you, in order to receive what you want from marriage, you have to be willing to pay the price for that particular product. Okay? You have to understand that reaching goals or obtaining what you want is going to require something of you and something of your time. And so what I'm giving you is something I want you to do this week. It's the days of the week. And then over here, it's the hours of each day, beginning at 12 a.m. And some of you may have done this at work and you're adverse to it because you may have had to have done a time analysis, a job analysis, time, how much you spend time on, and you're thinking, oh, they're going to get rid of me, they're going to see I'm not important. But this is a good thing in marriage to do this, okay? This is not getting rid of anybody. This is a good thing. What I want you to do this week is I just want you to block. For example, at midnight, I hope I'm asleep. And I'm going to sleep till 5 a.m. And so that's on Sunday or Monday. Sunday, it's going to begin on Monday for me. It depends, whenever you want to begin, okay? Block and then put sleep. You've got over here for notes. And I want you to do an analysis of the whole week of how you spend your time. Just how you spend your time. It's going to help you realize the pockets you have that you can make decisions on how you want to spend it. I hear so often, and I have said it myself, I would spend more time with my husband, but I just don't have time. I work, I drive almost an hour to work one way, and I work 10 hours a day, and I just don't have any time. And then when it comes over the weekend, I have to do homework, and yada, yada, yada. You don't have to do anything. You choose. I choose to drive to work an hour one way. I choose that. I choose to work where I work. It's a decision I made. And I choose to go to school. My choice, my decision. Okay? And I guess what I'm wanting you to see out of this is that how you spend your time is a decision that you have made. You, above all, have the decision to change it, to tweak it, to rearrange it. You have a decision, okay? Okay? So, anybody want to ask questions about this and how it works?
No.
Because a lot of times I get involved in things, even at work, I stay late or I took an extra class or something, and you don't realize how that's really affecting the marriage, so this is good. I like this.
Okay, so everybody knows how this works? You think you got an idea how to block it out? All right. So, as you create this, yes,
Do you have any extra ones?
I do.
You don't need one for you.
Anybody else? Okay, I have 35, so if there's extra ones, yeah. So you guys I've got more here. Anybody else need them? Okay. Anybody else need one? Yeah. Okay. Everybody, anybody else need one? Anybody? Okay. All right, I'm going to talk fast and I want you to listen quick, okay? Because we ain't got a lot of time left. All right, here we go. As you do this, you're going to ask, this is what I want you to ask yourself, what am I doing that's not keeping with what I really want to achieve in my marriage? Now, this is not, this little gift right here is not an opportunity for you to bash your companion because they watch an hour and a half of TV each day. I don't want you going, see, I told you, you spend 9 years on everything. You spend all, I don't want you doing that, okay? That's not what it's for. It's not for you to tell your companion how they ought to spend their time. It's for you to analyze your time spending and for your companion to analyze their time spending, and you don't tell them what they need to give up. That's their choice. You just tell them what your dreams and your desires are, and they tell you what theirs are, and you work on it together. Because some people, watching TV is an escape. I mean, I used to be a woman who liked to talk a lot with my kids when I lived at home, with my kids and raising them, because all I ever did was talk, no, let's play. We didn't have time to even get on the potty alone. So when my husband comes home, I want quality conversation. But now that I work, I don't want to talk. Just don't say anything to me. I talk all day long. I don't want to hear your voice. I just don't want to for about an hour. I just want to just sit in the bed. So, do this job analysis and also decide what is it that you want. I want you to decide 2 things this week. I want you to decide, create one goal, one personal goal, and then one marital goal. Okay? That's what I want you to do this week. One personal goal for yourself and one marital goal. Okay? And then I want you to bring back your job analysis next week. All right? I want you to bring it back with you. We're not going to look at it. I'm not going to say, okay, bring it up here, we're going to analyze it. You've already done that throughout the week. You've seen what it is. So, what you're going to find is you're going to realize that there are some things that maybe you spend you invest time in that are good things, however, they're not helping you meet your goal. For example, I'm going to talk about the culprits of time. What eats your time? Well, TV does, for one. You unwind. For some people, because they have not established a really good relationship, or they've not established anything beyond hallway talk. Remember that last week's hallway talk? How are you? I'm good. Yeah. How was the day? It was great. Yeah. Did you see the news? Yeah, it was terrible. Terrible news. Yeah. Well, how's your boss? Yeah, he's good. He's good. Yeah. That's all you do. And so what happens is the loneliness inside of you, some people, television shows become their companion. They begin to relate to people that are in shows, that are in sequels, and they live out their life through those people. And television becomes the person they feel like they bonded to. Is it healthy? No. Does it happen? Yes. It happens. It happens. So culprits of time could be TV. Another culprit of time could be activities. You can be involved in church activities. You can be involved in sports activities. You can be involved in after-work activities. You can be involved on communities, serving on communities. And those are all wonderful, wonderful things. But if you overcommit yourself to functions, you can lose what's most valuable, which is your relationship with your companion and your family. And so as you go through this week and you look at your amounts of time that you have given to your functions or activities, I don't want you just to walk out next week and say to your boss or to your whatever group you serve over Little League, I'm not your coach anymore, I'm not coming back anymore, I'm sorry, I'll be with my wife. Don't do that. Your companion will respect you more if they hear you say, most commitments are tenured. They have a beginning and an end. If you can say to your companion, you guys okay? Yeah. You sure? Okay. If you can say to your companion, listen, I know I made a lot of commitments this time, but I promise you, let me finish out this commitment I've made, and I'm going to put you first on that. I'm not going to commit to do that. I'm not going to be president. I might go to it. I'm not going to be the president. Your companion, you will build an emotional intimacy with your companion and a respect and appreciation, and they'll give you a whole lot more leeway to come and go as you need to. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I want you to look at the commitments you've made outside, and how much does it take of your time. And then the third thing I want you to look at is how much of the responsibilities you have in these 24 hours, 7 days a week that you can delegate. What can you delegate? Can you delegate some people cooking? Can you delegate washing the dishes? Can you delegate mowing the yard? What can you delegate? What can you sit in a family forum and say, listen, this is what we've got to do this week. This is what our time looks like. Who's going to do what? That will free up some time. Because women have a tendency, I won't say all women, I will say a lot of women. We have a tendency to believe that you should know what needs to be done. That's my husband. You should just see it. It's just obvious. What do you mean you don't see it? I mean, do you realize I'm in here slaving away, cooking and washing, and the kids are running around my legs, and there's homework to be done, and you walk in and clock your behind on the seat. What's for dinner? And then when it's over, dinner's over, you just go back and plop again, and here I am slaving, and the kids got homework, they got baths, and you're not doing a thing. I promise you, your companion cannot read your mind. I promise you.
I know Linda's going to have to straighten up around our house.
Your companion cannot read your mind. And that's where a family forum can do a great deal for you. Where you can say, all right, these are the things that have to be done every night. How are we going to delegate it? Okay? And then, sometimes we just need friendly reminders. And I will say this, Will. Just because kudos to your companion tell you that they are gonna bathe the kids and they never wash their ears. Don't worry about it. The kids will not die during the ears. They'll never do it the way you do it. And you'll never do things the way they do it. But be appreciative of what they do. You know, that took me a long time to understand that. I mean, diapers will be on backwards. And all kinds of stuff, you know what I mean? You know, they may shovel that food in that kid's mouth and don't even let them swallow it before the next one's in there, but hey, they're helping. They're helping, okay? So, delegate responsibilities. I'm going to stop there, okay? There's one more thing I want to talk about, scheduling. Well, let's see, how much time do we have? We got time to talk about it. What time is it?
It's 9:48.
Okay, I got her. The last thing I'm going to talk about is once you have this week done, I want you to schedule things for the two of you. I want you to schedule intimacy. You're kidding me. If you don't, it may be 3 months before you were intimate with one another. Or 4 months. I don't know. Depends on where you are in your life. Schedule times that you're going to go on a date. If it's 1 night a week, schedule it and put it on that list. And what's going to happen, it's going to seem, for those of you who've never done this, it's going to seem very foreign and strange to you to begin with. But what it does do, it lets you know that you are more important. You said to your companion, you are so important to me, I'm not going to squeeze you in. I'm going to put you in there first. And when it comes to intimacy with one another, I've shared with you, with age, intimacy looks very different. But it's still wonderful. In fact, it's better the older you get, because you become friends. And you just know each other. Doesn't matter if everything hangs down, you gotta roll it up. You see me roll it up, and he's gotta roll it up too. Whatever.
You can't help rolling it up.
It just looks different. Some people have health challenges that other people don't have. So you can't say intimacy looks like this. But what it does do when you say, you and I are going to have the day and night together, this day, it gives you time to think about, what do I want to do that my companion is special to them? And the more time you think about that, whatever gestures you do, what it does do is it builds a bond that is greater than the bond you have with your children. It builds a bond that creates the house you live in, where there are no business over here building a house that nobody knows about. Does that make sense? It really does. So you schedule it and you keep that commitment, and you're going to find that it's going to build some great things in your marriage together. And you will find that the things that you said, the goal I have for my marriage and the goal I have for myself, you're going to find yourself walking towards that goal. Okay? Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for your faithfulness. These marriages, these lives, they're precious to you, and where they are in their relationship as we go through this week, when we look at our lives and the time and how much we invest in certain things, help each of us to say, I can take this block of time and I can invest it in a different way. Lord, I just pray you put your arms around every one of your children, and you go through this week with them and you remind them that you are a friend who longs to have conversation with them, and that you're always there. And I thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, today's class will be on YouTube and Facebook, and this is the address. It'll be on there by Wednesday. Yes, ma'am.